The Vivo X200 Pro is one of the most praised camera phones in 2025, but how does it compare against the new Galaxy S25 Ultra? Hey guys, this is Vic with PhoneArena with our in-depth comparison of the new Vivo phone and the Galaxy S25 Ultra. So first, it's about the looks. The Vivo definitely has a bit more curves, a slightly tapered back, more rounded corners, while the Galaxy has a perfectly flat back. Most importantly, the Galaxy also has a flat screen, so if you want to put on a tempered glass screen protector, you have no issues with the Galaxy, while the slightly tapered screen on the Vivo makes finding and applying a good screen protector a hassle. Now, both weigh around 220 grams, the Galaxy is just a tiny bit lighter, but I have a bit of a problem with this giant camera circle on the Vivo. It makes the phone very top heavy, while the Galaxy has its weight equally distributed, and for me the Galaxy wins the design round. It's just the more practical design, but after all, this is personal preference. Alright, let's get to the meat of it, the cameras. You have 4 cameras on the back of the S25 Ultra and 3 cameras on the Vivo. The difference comes from the 2 telephoto cameras on the Galaxy. It has a 3x and 5x zoom versus a single one on the Vivo with a 3.7x zoom level. But surprisingly, the single telephoto camera on the Vivo actually does a much better job with zooming. Now compare these photos and you see detail is actually cleaner, sharper, and the processing is just a bit more adequate on the images from the Vivo. The Galaxy doesn't look bad, and typically it beats the competition in zoom quality, but the Vivo seems to best it this time. Where these 2 cameras really shine though is portrait mode. On the Galaxy you have presets for 1x, 2x, 3x and 5x zoom, and on the Vivo you have similar presets. Actually you have one more, which is 1.5x or 35mm focal distance, which is very useful, and I appreciate having this on the Vivo. One thing the Vivo does really well is giving you some cool filters and the ability to select custom bokeh effects so images can look a lot like DSLR ones. And that is a really cool feature that you don't have on the Galaxy. It looks a bit more like a smartphone. Honestly, both have their advantages. Now, if you look at the images from the Vivo, you'll notice they have more contrast and pop, while photos from the Galaxy look more neutral and toned down. And that's a surprise. Just a few years ago, it was the opposite. The Samsung being known for having saturated colors, but that's not the case anymore. Now, the main camera is a 200 megapixel one on the Galaxy and the 50 megapixel one on the Vivo, but both actually take 12 megapixel photos by default, so the detail in photos is similar. Take a look at a few pictures, and to me, these boil down to personal preference with some slight differences. During the day, the Vivo goes for extra bright shadows and very vivid colors, while the Galaxy has a less artificial look and looks more natural to my eye. Overall, it's a close call between these two. Sometimes I prefer the look from the Vivo, but I'm also turned off by these vivid colors sometimes as well. So what about the rest? Well, the Galaxy has the latest Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset with 12 gigs of RAM, while the Vivo uses a MediaTek Dimensity 9400 chip, which is also plenty fast and also has 12 gigs of RAM. In daily use, both feel perfectly capable. I noticed no difference in performance, but if you run the benchmarks or some very intense tasks, you see some differences. Now, in benchmarks, the Galaxy scores noticeably higher. It beats the Vivo by more than 10% in single-core performance scores and nearly 20% in multi-core. In gaming benchmarks, both phones actually throttle way more than the average, which was a bit surprising, especially for the Galaxy. So on the 3D Mark benchmark, the scores dropped to around 3,000 points for the Galaxy and 2,800 points for the Vivo. So both of them are actually still faster than a Pixel 9 Pro, but they're not nearly as fast as the new OnePlus 13. Now, as I said, you don't notice this in daily life. It's more about future-proofing and some really intense apps. So I'm not sure the average user will really care about these performance numbers. Before diving into the battery life, let's check out the super tough Galaxy S25 Ultra, the Unicorn Beetle Mag XT. It comes with a very strong MagSafe magnet, and it protects the camera with a clever zinc alloy camera cover. It also serves as a kickstand. And another cool case is the UB Grip. It's a one-piece snap-on case with a strong drop and fall protection. It's made of shock-absorbent TPU and polycarbonate. It also has textured edges that enhance grip, and you've got a MagSafe ring that also functions as a kickstand, so you can leave your phone standing horizontally or vertically. The UV grip is also fully compatible with the S Pen, and thanks to its smart magnetic design, it prevents the interference problems that affect many other magnetic cases. All Unicorn Beetle cases are carefully crafted with precise cutouts and provide excellent protection. Want to get one? Head down to the description box for an exclusive discount code and a link to the latest Galaxy S25 cases by Subcase and iBlazeon. What about battery life? Now everyone cares about battery life, right? Well, kudos to Vivo here. It uses the new silicon carbon battery technology and crams a massive 6000 mAh battery inside, 20% bigger than the battery on the Galaxy. We had to test this though. We ran our 3 in-house PhoneArena tests, and here's what we found. On our lightest test running a script in the browser, the Vivo got 21 hours and 20 minutes, half an hour longer than the Galaxy. But for YouTube streaming, the Galaxy doesn't last long. It gets less than 9 hours, while the Vivo went for more than 14 hours, which is actually one of the best scores ever on this test. Now, altogether, we estimate that you can expect a screen time of more than 9 hours on the Vivo compared to around 8 hours on the Galaxy, so you can definitely notice the Vivo has the upper hand. And it's an even bigger win for the Vivo when we look at charging speeds. It supports 90 watts wired charging compared to 45 watts on the Galaxy, and for wireless charging, you can reach 30 watt speeds with the Vivo and only 15 watt on the Galaxy, so the Vivo charges much faster. Now, last but not least, we have to talk about the software. The Galaxy runs One UI 7 on top of Android 15, while the Vivo has FunTouch OS 15. And I definitely prefer Samsung software. It just has way more polish in the little things. You can resize the widgets, everything looks just a little bit nicer. Both phones actually have Gemini, as most Android phones do these days, but the Galaxy has quite a few other AI tricks that just work better. And of course, you also have the S Pen on board, so you can sketch to draw and just have the fun of jotting down notes or drawing with it. It's also worth mentioning that the Vivo will get OS updates for only 4 years, while the Galaxy will get them for 7 years in the future, and that is an advantage. So all things considered, these two are both powerful flagship phones. Get the Vivo if you like its custom camera filters and cool bokeh effects and all of that good stuff, but also for the battery life. Now, if you don't obsess over camera quality alone though, the Galaxy seems to have a few more advantages. First, it's just much easier to buy and find in Western markets. It also has more refined software, longer software updates, better AI, and the S Pen. So which of these two would you go for? Let me know in the comments.